Welcome to the Tennessean. I'm Dwayne Gang. We have an important story going in Sunday's paper about sexual assault and sex crimes on college campuses in Tennessee. Tony Gonzalez, one of my colleagues, has been reporting this for several weeks now. And Tony, tell me a little bit about, first, a lot of people are going to be asking, well, why are we doing this story now? Why are we reporting and giving the resources to this story now? Kind of give us a sense for why we decided to tackle this issue.
Sure. Well, there are a couple reasons why we're looking at the story now. First and foremost, there's been this high-profile case at Vanderbilt University. There are allegations there and now criminal charges concerning a June 23rd rape on campus in a dormitory of a student. As everybody probably knows at this point, there have been some arrests, including of former football players from the Vanderbilt team. But besides that, there's a much broader national movement underway right now. The Federal Department of Education has put out some new mandates, actually starting back in 2011. It's recently been put into law, just really requiring universities to take seriously these sexual assault allegations, to respond quickly, to file reports, and to really try and do their best in serving victims once something has happened. There's also requirements in there about prevention efforts. What can a university do to prevent sexual assault from happening in the first place?
And speaking of Vanderbilt, you focused a lot on Vanderbilt, in part because there is this high-profile case going on. But what is Vanderbilt doing to help, kind of protect people, to help give resources to students who might come across an issue like this?
Sure. And I think you mentioned early on, I've been working on the story for a few weeks now, really since just after June 23rd, speaking to current students, former students, administrators, current and former staff members, faculty members. So really just trying to get a lot of different opinions about what is Vanderbilt doing? Are they doing things, right, wrong? How have things changed over time on campus? They've actually gotten a lot of praise here recently for some of the efforts they've got. Specifically on prevention. Just for example, all students, before they ever set foot on Vanderbilt University campus, they're required to watch a series of videos about sexual assault prevention. It's 7 videos, it's about 30 minutes. They actually have to take a quiz, and the university can check to make sure they've seen those videos. I think we can show a clip of one of these.
Yeah, we have a clip of one of them here, just a short portion of one of those videos. Let's take a look.
But they were both drunk.
I heard they were friends.
But I heard they were dating.
Look at what she was wearing.
She was asking
for it.
She never says no.
She sleeps around.
She sleeps around.
That's just how she is.
What's the big deal? What's the big deal? I heard she likes it, but that was last year.
That happened
Everyone else was
ago.
doing it. Did you see the way she was dancing?
She came on to
Have you seen her profile pics?
Once we got going, I couldn't stop.
You may have heard phrases such as these to explain why it isn't rape, as if the rapist is not responsible for behavior while drunk. But the U.S. Supreme Court has held that even perpetrators who have blacked out due to alcohol or drug consumption are responsible for their behavior. Ultimately, having...
So those videos deal a lot with, consent and no means no. Some of them deal with date rape, drugs. But Vanderbilt also has, from your reporting you learned, a way for students to kind of report a lot of things that go on campus that might be a problem or they just might have questions about, and they kind of map these. So what is that program?
Sure. Well, and I kind of break these down into sort of 2 categories. A lot of it is just sort of about the laws, what are the rules, what are the policies, procedures, that sort of thing. But really the university and a lot of schools these days are trying to get beyond just kind of the rules. They're trying to change the culture. It's considered to be a much harder thing to do, but it's kind of little things day to day. What can students do in the way they speak, the way they think about sex and relationships? And then also this specific program is called Green Dots. They're sort of asking students to become a green dot or to essentially do something that helps sexual assault prevention. So they've built this map where a student can go on there and can make a note when they think they've done something helpful, whether it's just maybe explaining to a friend how to get some help on campus, whether they've maybe intervened. This is a big theme, trying to encourage students to intervene. if something is going wrong.
So it's really trying to get students to take a much more proactive, be more proactive about some of these issues.
Right. I think sort of the experts say that for too long, it's been too easy for people to just kind of ignore sexual assault if they're not being directly affected. So this is asking sort of everybody to take responsibility, to speak up, to intervene if they need to, but just day to day to just almost just to change their language and behavior on a daily basis to try to be more protective.
One of the difficult aspects of this story is talking to sexual assault victims. You know, the paper, of course, generally does not name victims of sexual assault, but you spoke with a number of them, both, including one who is very kind of open about what happened to her because she wants to kind of try to make a difference now. Tell us about kind of the difficulty of talking to sexual assault victims, and tell us a little bit about the student, the former Vanderbilt student that you did talk to, who is willing, you know, to put her name out there. Really a brave thing for someone to do to try to make a difference.
Sure. Well, I definitely spoke to a few different sexual assault survivors from Vanderbilt University, also other universities, and including outside of Tennessee. It is obviously a sensitive subject. It's delicate. It's not easy to talk about. But one thing I did find is that, you know, once the conversation started, a lot of these women, it was all women who I interviewed, really do want to talk about it. Many of them have, to some degree, become, you know, sort of an advocate, or maybe they've participated in support groups. They've become volunteers helping other sexual assault survivors. One in particular really stands out. Her name is Taylor Walker. She is, she'll be identified in the paper, photographed. She actually insisted on that, which is unusual for the newspaper. But she really, she thought it was almost part of her healing to put herself out there, to talk about this openly. After all, I mean, she was the victim, and that's what she says, that she's not ashamed of what happened. She didn't do anything wrong. So she's, you know, speaking out and trying to help others by sharing her story. She thinks that's one of the ways, you know, talking about these things, that we can kind of raise awareness.
Right. And she spoke on camera as well, and we have a couple of clips of some of the things that she had to say. This first clip is about some of the issues or some of the things that she thinks need to be done. Let's correct.
Sure. Well,
yeah.
I mean, she obviously recognizes this is a difficult cultural thing to change, to prevent sexual assault. So I think the first clip, she talks about how it might be a little difficult, but that we need to take it seriously.
Right. Yeah, let's take a look.
When it comes to a cultural shift and changing minds and hearts, that, you know, that takes years, and that's something that for a lot of people we don't know if that's even at all possible. But we have to be willing to talk about it and be willing to start somewhere, because if we don't start somewhere, then we're never going to get where we really need to be.
So you heard her there in her own words. Let's talk about this other clip where she talks a little bit more personally about some of what she thinks needs to be done.
That's right, and I think she has a lot of very specific ideas for what we can do day to day, and the big one really is just that more people need to take a personal responsibility for preventing sexual assault.
Right, let's take a look at that one.
If we start to think of things a little bit more personally, we won't allow stuff like this to happen, and we won't question people that come forward. So I think that's really important, and I would just ask that they do that.
And as we conclude, what about if people need to know, something happened to me, I need to make a phone call? What are some of the resources out there in the Nashville community for sexual assault victims?
Well, and everybody I talked to, Taylor included, other therapists, they all just really emphasize that, you know, despite what has happened, especially, you know, this high-profile case here recently, it does give us an opportunity to maybe get help for people who need assistance. We're going to provide some phone numbers here. The Nashville Sexual Assault Center, Metro Nashville Police, they both have you know, special units that can take these kind of phone calls. If you need help, you can get, you know, counseling, other types of services, some of which are provided free. So I would, you know, obviously the experts encourage people to come forward. It is difficult for a lot of these folks, but you know, they definitely emphasize making that call.
You can. This is an important but sometimes difficult story to tell, and you can read all of Tony's stories and his reporting on this on Tennessean.com, and of course in Sunday's newspaper as well. Thanks for watching.